What's going on, esports fans? Oh, hey, it's Derrick. Yes, it is. Join with my good buddy Naskab, and we're here to bring you Overwatch League's top players of the week.
Justice reigns from above.
No one can hide from my sight.
Cheers, love! The cavalry's here!
And here we are. Welcome to ESHQ's top players of the week. As mentioned, oh, hey, it's Derrick. Yes, it is here. And I'm joined by Naskab, and we're going to be bringing you the top players for this week in the Overwatch League. Now, there are standout performances in every day of play when it comes to an individual week, and we like to focus on as much as possible. So what we like to do here on the top players of the week is we like to break down the top players for the first 2 days as well as the final 2 days. So for this week, let's get started. Now, the first 2 days of week 4 are special. An unprecedented, crazy game happened, and it is the central focus for the first few days when it comes to the top players of the league, because everyone we're going to be mentioning for these first 2 days are part of the London Spitfire, specifically in their game against the Seoul Dynasty. So, if we're including the London Spitfire, you know what that means. Now, when it comes to the cohesive team of the London Spitfire, we're going to focus on every bit that drove them to the 4-0 shutout victory over the Seoul Dynasty. I mean, tanks abound. Performances from people like Gesture. As they say, when he's using a Winston, King Kong ain't got nothing on him. Am I right? Flex DPS across the board. Bird Ring with Widow just making target practice. A spider sniper out of anyone on the field. Hureg as a flex. Closer being or closer. I mean, great things, great things, great performances, just phenomenal. Again, a 4-0 victory over Seoul Dynasty is unprecedented. No one expected it, but it happened. It was a supreme match to watch, and with them only having one loss, there's only one other team that only has one loss, meaning that they are, in fact, the closest rival to my favorite team, the New York Excelsior! Let's take a closer look at the London Spitfire with my good buddy, Naskab.
Overall, the London Spitfire had a plus 38 KD against Dynasty, whereas the Dynasty had a minus 42 KD, leading to the overall KD differential of 80, fielding 11 players, which means either they were so confident that they were going to win against the Seoul Dynasty that they just decided they were going to field all their players, essentially, or they felt that they could field 11 players, effectively swapping them in and out, which is almost as impressive. Specifically on their roster, Gesture had an outstanding performance, Bedosin had an outstanding performance, and so did Birdring and Prophet. Crushing the Dynasty, not dropping a single point to them until the very last map, Dorado. And that is why London Spitfire is your standout team of day 1 and 2.
And that'll do it after an amazing first 2 days of week 4. Let's look at the final 2 days of week 4 for our top players. Starting us off, we're going to focus on tanks, and for that we're going to go to the Seoul Dynasty. Despite getting 4-0'd in the first 2 days, a prime performance from them in the final 2 days, and specifically from Zumba. Now, doing especially well in performances as Diva. I mean, the guy, as far as his defense matrix, stopped and blocked a lot of damage for his team, kept them alive, kept them in play, and was an expert at destroying the enemy back line. But for a closer look, let's head on over to my good buddy Naskab and go.
Zumba on days 3 and 4 against the Houston Outlaws blocked 70,000 damage, on top of getting 66 kills and only dying 33 times. And let's take a look at some of his other stats. This guy plays an exemplary diva, which is why he's our standout tank of days 3 and 4.
And next up, we're going to look at support. And for that, we're going to go to New York. For my favorite team, New York Excelsior! And if we're talking support for the New York Excelsior, say their entire name. Please do not stop it at New York Excel. I mean, come on, there's an entire couple more syllables. Say the whole thing. All right, it's a respect thing. We're going to look at Jonak, of course, once again, back in our support focus. He's been here before, and he deserves to be here once again. Again, almost specifically as a perfectly primed performance as Zenyatta. Now, I mean, the guy put up huge damage numbers, solo kills, and was prime when it came to assassinating with volley. I mean, the guy is amazing. I can't sing the praises louder than I am now. I mean, I could, but I mean, there's a volume that's acceptable in the studio. But for a more statistical look, for a more analytical look, as we do, we're going to send it back over to my buddy Naskab.
Jonak of the New York Excelsior showed us this week that he still plays a great Zenyatta, dealing 15,000 damage against Dallas Fuel, on top of going 34 and 16. And again, going 13 and 6 on Dorado, on top of soloing out the Dallas Fuel's DPS players. And let's take a look at some of his other stats. Making him our standout support of days 3 and 4.
And finally, we're going to look at DPS, or damage, as far as days 3 and 4 for the 4th week of the Overwatch League. And for that, we're going to go to my second favorite team in the league. We're going to go to Boston Uprising's own, very own Dream Casper, a person that's been featured, if not on all of these lists, then most of them. I mean, a pretty consistent player when it comes to his performances in the Overwatch League. Now, I mean, you're always talking about Genji or maybe sometimes Pharah. I mean, the man he bulldozes through and delivers, as mentioned, a standout performance when it comes to killing folk in all of these matches. But I'm going to stop gushing. I'm going to send it over to my good buddy Naskab once again for a closer look.
Dream Casper of the Boston Uprising has been a key part in their rise performance the last couple of weeks. But specifically this week, he had a plus 30 KD against the Gladiators overall. And then had an outstanding performance on Pharah against the Valiant, showing he can both play Genji and Pharah at a very high level, netting himself 8 barrage kills and 20,000 damage. Dream Casper also showed against the Valiant, specifically on Eichenwald, that he plays a very good Pharah, netting 8 barrage kills and 20,000 damage just on that map. And that is why Dream Casper is our standout DPS of days 3 and 4.
And finally, this is important. This is the MVP for week 4 of the Overwatch League. And for that, we're going to cross the pond because we're focusing on the London Spitfire. You know what that means. Because of the specifically standout performance in the first 2 days, specifically in that Seoul Dynasty matchup. Everyone did well, as focused on in the first portion of this top players analysis, but specifically Bird Ring from the London Spitfire has to be focused on. His Widow performance was second to none. In fact, the rumblings around the studio at ESHQ is saying that he might indeed be the MVP of all of Stage 1. But to highlight this performance, we're going to head over to Naskab to look at a closer look of the MVP of Week 4.
Birdring's a very obvious MVP this week after seeing London Spitfire's overall performance. But specifically, against the Dynasty, he had a plus 24 KD, netting 41 kills and only 17 deaths. And then, during their speed run of Shanghai Dragons, he didn't die once on Lunar Colony, netting 13 kills in just that game. Outdueling maybe one of the best Widowmakers in the league, Flutta. And let's take a look at some of his other stats. And that is why he is our MVP of Week 4.
And there you have it, another great week of play, a lot of standout performances, and some nice analysis to go with it. I'm Ohheyitsderrick, yes it is, once again joined by Naskab, and those are your top players of the week. Thanks for watching.